Now you've completed the dairy section. We will move on to grains. Continue to use the Ask and Share prompts throughout your facilitator guide. The first prop from the grain section comes from your equipment bin, and it's a model of a whole grain. Use this to teach participants about a whole grain and its three parts, and why it might be the best option. The outer portion of this model is the bran, and inside is the germ and the endosperm. You can take your model apart and discuss each of the three parts separately, and then put it back together and explain that if participants eat all three parts together, they're going to get the most vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Page 23 of your facilitator guide contains lots of information for you to utilize during your demo of the burlap whole grain model. Review each portion so that you are familiar with the vitamins and minerals that each section of the whole grain provides. For activity 11, you will utilize a prop from your pop-up bin, these measuring cups. You will also utilize 2 boxes of cereal found in your pop-up bin, a box of Cheerios, and a box of Honey Nut Cheerios. You will distribute these boxes to participants and have them look at the nutrition facts label. On the label, they should identify serving size. They will realize that the Honey Nut Cheerios and the plain Cheerios have different serving sizes. You can have them identify the serving size using the measuring cups. Then lead them in a discussion about why the serving sizes are different and what this means for the nutrition facts. Once participants have identified the difference in serving size between these 2 boxes of Cheerios, have them check out the ingredient list to see if they are whole grains. Next, have them look at the nutrition facts label to see how much sugar is in each serving. Participants will notice that the Honey Nut Cheerios have more sugar than the plain Cheerios. Allow them time to figure out how much sugar was added to the Honey Nut Cheerios. You can also have participants take the grams of sugar and divide it by 4 to get the number of teaspoons. You can show them what a teaspoon looks like on the measuring cups for reference. For the last part of activity 11, you will utilize 3 small boxes of cereal found in your pop-up bin: Frosted Flakes, Cocoa Krispies, and Froot Loops. Distribute these to participants and have them check out the ingredients list to identify if any of them are a whole grain. Also have them look at the nutrition facts label and calculate the teaspoons of sugar in each of these little boxes. You can compare these to the plain Cheerios to see how much more sugar these boxes have than the Cheerios. Once participants understand what a whole grain is and why it's best to eat all 3 parts together, you can move on to activity 10. Activity 10 is in a white envelope, and it contains 5 laminated pictures of varieties of bread. The bread varieties are white sandwich bread, home-style white bread, honey wheat bread, and 100% whole wheat bread. You can pass these out to participants and have them flip them over to look at the ingredients. Now's the time when you can teach participants how to identify if something is a whole grain. In order for something to be a whole grain, its first ingredient in the ingredient list should be a whole grain. The 100% whole wheat bread's first ingredient is whole wheat flour, so we can determine that this is a whole grain. The first ingredient in the wheat bread is enriched wheat flour. So enriched wheat flour does not have the word whole in front of it, and it's not a whole grain. So the wheat bread is not a whole grain. Allow participants time to check out the ingredient lists on all 5 bread varieties. They will deduct that the only whole grain is the one that says 100% whole wheat. For activity 12, you will utilize a white envelope named activity 12 and also 2 props from your pop-up bin. In the white envelope labeled activity 12, you will find 2 laminated pictures, one of plain oatmeal and the other of maple brown sugar oatmeal in individual packets. Have participants compare the prices and unit prices for both of these types of oatmeal to figure out which one is the better buy. For the second part of Activity 12, distribute these two props and allow your participants to take a look at the plain Quick Oats and the maple brown sugar oat packets. They can check out the ingredient list to see if either one is a whole grain, and also the nutrition facts panel to see how much sugar is in each of these. Participants will notice that the maple brown sugar oatmeal has much more sugar than the plain oatmeal. You can use this time to facilitate a discussion of what you could add to the plain oatmeal to make it sweeter. Participants could add some brown sugar and maple syrup of their own. They could add fruit like strawberries or bananas. They could even add nuts and cinnamon. Also part of Activity 10, you will utilize 2 boxes of pasta found in your pop-up bin. A box of whole grain pasta and a box of white pasta. Allow participants time to check out the ingredient list to see if they can identify which one is a whole grain. Even though one box of pasta is labeled as a whole grain, participants will need to be able to identify a whole grain using the ingredient list, as sometimes labels can be misleading.